In today's analysis, I want you to do me a favor. Just close your eyes for a second. Cast your mind back just a few years. Remember that? Picture a world completely frozen. Highways, which are usually these massive pumping arteries of commerce, just completely empty. Massive cargo ships, just sitting there, hopelessly jammed up at ports. We saw factories go totally dark, literally shut down in an instant, just because of an acute shortage of tiny microchips. It was a dark, tense, honestly cinematic reality. I mean, those global lockdowns tested the absolute fabric of our modern infrastructure. And out of all that chaos, looking at the immense crushing pressure placed on global trade, a massive question emerged.
And let's just dive right into that question, because honestly, it is quite literally a multi-trillion-dollar one. Can India actually save its supply chain? We all watched semiconductor shortages shut down entire automobile production lines, right? We saw how quickly a localized crisis could just ripple across the entire globe like wildfire. So we're not just talking about your online order getting delayed here. We're talking about deep geopolitical tension, basic economic survival, and really the fundamental ability to keep a whole nation moving when the rest of the world just grinds to a halt.
All right, let's get into Section 1, the global trade crisis.
Now, to really understand the sheer scale of what India is trying to pull off, we first have to look at the compounding global shocks that have just absolutely battered the world recently. Because it wasn't just the COVID-19 pandemic. Right on its heels, bam, the Russia-Ukraine war completely upends energy and grain markets. And then, the Red Sea crisis, which severely choked a vital maritime routing point. And that's not even mentioning the ever-present threat of sudden natural disasters. The system hasn't just been tested, guys. It has been relentlessly hammered. And this brings us to an absolutely crucial paradigm shift. It's captured perfectly right here. In today's world, just manufacturing a product isn't enough. The real power is being able to deliver it in any situation. So what does this actually mean? It means true global dominance has evolved. It's no longer just about having the biggest factories or, the cheapest labor. It's about resilience. It's about surviving these overlapping crises and keeping your economy breathing when the air in the room is literally being sucked out.
Moving right along, Section 2, Geometry of Supply Chains.
So to actually master this resilience, we really have to understand the underlying mechanics of trade. I like to think of this as the intricate physics, the mathematics, and the geometry of connecting points on a global map. A supply chain isn't just, trucks and cardboard boxes. It's a highly calculated geographic and mathematical flow. It's this complex formula where distance, speed, and cost have to be perfectly balanced. Think about it. It starts at point 1, raw material. Then it moves to point 2, the factory. Then on to point 3, the warehouse. Across point 4, transport. And finally, it arrives at point 5, you, the customer. Whether we're talking about the super complex components inside the latest iPhone, the ingredients for your favorite food delivery, or, crucially, life-saving medicines, every single item relies on this exact chain, functioning without a single broken link.
And that actually brings us to a rather emotional contrast. It's what I'd call the sad poetry of broken supply chains against the love of a resilient delivery system. Just think about it for a second. There is a genuine, almost relatable sadness, a real literature-like tragedy to broken infrastructure. Stuck trucks on highways, empty pharmacy shelves, people just waiting for things they desperately, desperately need. But contrast that with the immense relief, the sheer love and care you feel when a resilient, mathematically perfect system successfully delivers life-saving medicines to a remote village right on time. Yes, it's logistics, but at the end of the day, it deeply impacts human lives.
Okay, Section 3, India's logistical strengths.
So how exactly is India preparing to ensure that system never breaks? Well, I am incredibly enthusiastic to share this next part with you, because India is coming out swinging. They're leveraging a huge, historic railway network alongside these cutting-edge digital systems. Think GST, UPI, FASTag. These have completely, and I mean completely, streamlined the movement of goods and money. You combine that with massive, aggressive investments in ports and highways, highly competitive manufacturing costs, and a massive, energetic young workforce. Add in the geopolitical China Plus One strategy, where global companies are actively scrambling for manufacturing alternatives outside of China, and you've got the perfect storm. These advantages are rapidly, and I mean rapidly, transforming India into a premier global manufacturing hub.
Section 4, Roadblocks and Frictions.
But hey, let's keep things balanced here. Building an empire isn't without its growing pains. So let's neutrally pivot to the economic frictions and the hard realities that are still threatening this massive logistical machine. It's a bit of a tug-of-war. On one hand, we've got the cutting-edge infrastructural assets we just celebrated, the digital systems, the sprawling railways. But on the flip side, India still battles severe traffic congestion that can literally trap trucks for hours on end. There are significant storage problems and poor rural logistics, meaning getting goods those crucial last few miles can be incredibly difficult. Plus, let's not forget, there's still a heavy dependence on imports and the constant headache of fluctuating global fuel costs. These are the sticky points, the real-world frictions that can grind those beautiful mathematical trade routes right to a halt.
Section 5. The Resilient Revolution.
But this is where the story gets really, really fascinating, because India isn't just sitting back and accepting these weaknesses. No way. They are actively racing to build an unshakable, totally future-proof logistics empire. Take the traffic problem. To bypass that, they're building massive, dedicated freight corridors. We're talking entire railway lines built just for cargo. To reduce import dependence, you have Make in India and Production-Linked Incentive, or PLI schemes, that are literally paying companies to manufacture domestically. And what about solving rural logistics and warehousing? Well, we're seeing the rise of smart warehouses, actual drone deliveries happening right now, and the ONDC, which is this brilliant digital logistics network that's completely leveling the playing field. These initiatives are actively, aggressively solving the exact frictions we were just talking about.
Which brings us to this absolute game changer of a statement. India isn't just surviving, it is in the race to become the future of the global supply chain. So, the key takeaway here. This isn't merely a defensive strategy anymore. They're playing offense. By combining massive physical infrastructure projects with just unprecedented digital integration, India is elevating itself from a mere survivor of global crises to a pioneer that is actively shaping the future of global trade.
All right, our final section, Section 6, Time Travel and Tomorrow. So, we're moving into an era of what I like to call time travel. Now, okay, I don't mean literal time machines like out of a sci-fi movie. I'm talking about the use of advanced AI and predictive forecasting. By crunching insane amounts of data, AI can actually predict a logistical disaster, like a massive port jam or a severe weather delay, before it even happens. It basically allows supply chain managers to effectively travel into the future, spot a problem, and correct it in the present. It's wild. Just look at how this timeline unfolds. 2024 was all about scaling up those PLI schemes and the digital ONDC. 2025, that's when we see the massive expansion of those dedicated freight corridors. But look at this specific checkpoint right here, April 9, 2026. This is projected as a pivotal moment where we could see the deep integration of AI forecasting, widespread use of electric EV trucks, advanced robotics running smart ports, and honestly, maybe even the beginnings of green Hyperloop logistics. It's a completely transformed, automated, and green network, and it's coming together in the very near future.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, deeply provocative thought. Think about this. When a country's supply chain is truly strong, does its economy ever easily stop? If you can master the physics and the geometry of global trade, if you can build a resilient system that simply withstands pandemics and wars, your economy basically becomes virtually unstoppable. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this structured look at the moving pieces behind our world has sparked your curiosity about these invisible networks we rely on every single day. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.